All right. We are live again. Okay, so as many of you probably heard, let's see,
And we're
hello,
back.
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Thanks
We
for joining.
Not a problem, sir. Listen,
Did you miss us?
we ran into some problems, technical problems to everybody in the chat, but we're back.
Yeah, I totally missed you guys. It's been literally minutes as I try to get this new one up and running.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah. So for anyone who is able to view this stream after the fact, after it's posted, we are live. YouTube bots erroneously flagged the video, the first video of the stream, as violating terms of service, which it wasn't. But that's the way the cookie crumbles.
yeah.
When you have a moment, please feel free to share your screen again so we can check out your campaign.
Absolutely. 1 second. And there it is.
Right on.
The Ripper's back.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's go over the different tiers of the perks on your campaign for Grim Reaper 2.
Absolutely. So the first one is the feature perk. You get 3 books for only $30. And we're talking about best quality book with this glossy cover right here, from the Grim Reaper 1. If you're returning backer, if you back the Grim Reaper 1 and you already have this book, you got an option to pick a variant cover for the Grim Reaper 1 again. So yeah, 3 books, over 100 pages of pure fun and crazy adventure.
Nice.
Then,
oh, I'm sorry. Before you go on, I wanted to ask you something.
Mhm.
I noticed that when the first stream was flagged, and I went back to YouTube just to see it and confirm that I was supposedly, allegedly violating terms of service. I was playing back a small portion of it, and I noticed there wasn't any audio coming through. Is that normal for something that was flagged to not have audio?
Honestly, it's the first time I hear about that, but YouTube has been acting strange.
Okay.
There's no telling on what they'll do next.
There's not always like
Yeah.
a good reason.
Yeah. And for example, right now, Whiskys is gone, so we're gonna take over his channel right now.
And subscribe to White Cat Comics.
And I'm going to play the Grim Reaper. I'm sure he'll be back eventually. So anyways, yeah, so this is the Grim Reaper 2, guys. Great book. Back it, all right? It cost us a lot of sweat, blood, and tears. Especially her, because she's the one that works hard.
And saliva, because I have to sleep, to talk a lot.
Oh, because you have to sleep.
Yeah.
But you like drool while you're asleep. You do drool, you know? For those of you who don't know, Carla Tornelli, she drools in her sleep. She usually drools right here. Like every time I wake up, I'm super wet in this room.
Oh my.
I feel like I used to be showering.
I'm gonna send him the link. Maybe he doesn't know how to return.
All right.
Hey, Wiz. Oh man. Oh jeez. I accidentally. Oh, dearie mine. I accidentally closed the tab that had this live broadcast going.
It happens. It happens. Listen, we are with you through thick and thin. All right, we'll survive this storm and we'll get through it. Right?
Oh man.
Like, if you remove yourself of the stream,
absolutely,
we're gonna keep going.
Nothing will stop us.
Oh man, I greatly appreciate all your support. Oh man.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, the next tier is the $7 one, which is the PDF. Those international backers. I know backing can get expensive. Shipping can get expensive for those of you who live somewhere else in the world. And we appreciate and love you guys. Every penny counts. Believe me, does. So $7 for just the PDF of the second book is a steal, and you're not paying shipping.
Not
And just like everyone else, you will get a electronic pinup. Well, if you're an electronic backer, if you're a digital backer, you'll get a digital pinup. If you're a physical backer, you get a physical pinup. But everybody will get a pinup, free pinup. I'm like Oprah here. You get a pinup, she gets a pinup, you get a pinup. Everybody will get a free pinup because we hit our $2,000 mark.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then let's scroll down because I have no clue what the next perk is. I don't, but I have no clue what's next. This is like excitement and
we've been promoting it for 2 months and you still haven't.
I don't know. So the next one is Hades. Is $10 and is the electronic copy of the PDF of the 2 books that are new, Green Reaper 2 and The Curse of the Medallion, just for $10.
All right.
The next one is the Thanatos. That is the physical copy of book number 2. It's only $14. It's a perfect bound book, over 40 pages of the beautiful art of Carla Tornilli and the crazy mind of John Gallagher, all put into one thing. You will love it and you will enjoy it. Please back it.
Ah, nice.
Then we have the Cherry, which is $15. It has 3 books in the PDF format, plus a digital pinup. And it's Green Reaper 1, Green Reaper 2, and The Curse of the Medallion. So if you're an international backer or if you're just broke, look, we understand, all right? Whatever you can do to help will help this campaign and will help push our projects forward. We appreciate it. $15 for 3 PDFs.
Wow.
Then the Cerberus is $25 for the 2 books in the physical format. That's a steal. You know, you're getting a perfect bound book, glossy cover, hardstock pages, beautiful art, lots of adventure and great storytelling. You know, and if you are a fan of the book, maybe you back the first one, you want to find out more about it, just $25 for the 2 books that follow.
Excellent.
We also have this add-on right here. If you just want to look suave, right? If you want to have the same amount of swag as Whiskies, then you want to get this shirt, all right? It's a $30 T-shirt with an original artwork by Carla Tornilli right here, from the Green Reaper characters.
Wow.
The Purgatory is $60, and it includes a pinup, an additional pinup from the one that you're already getting for free, and the physical copy of issue 2, The Curse of the Medallion, and the T-shirt. Just for $60. That's a steal, guys.
So is the pinup like the size of the comic book pages, like what, 8 by 10 or?
Yes, this time it's gonna be the same size as the comic. The first time it was a little bit smaller, but this time around it's gonna be the same size of the comic. And yeah, since we got to the 2K mark, everybody's gonna get a free pinup. So this one includes a pinup, so you can choose an additional one.
Yeah, and you have tons of options. You can choose sexy. You can choose action.
Not sexy.
You can choose ugly. Look, you can choose whatever.
No, that's a lie. And the options we have are this one. This is the sexy one. Then we have this anime style one with all the characters, and then we have the beefcake. Yeah.
Will you ladies out there?
Or maybe not.
Or yeah, we have options.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that first one is my favorite.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody likes that one.
Well, I was gonna say the red one in particular is my type.
Yeah, right. Everybody thinks that Temi is sexier, but I don't know. She has a little something.
Are you crazy, baby?
Yeah.
She represents the beautiful death. Of course, she's gonna be beautiful. And she last is a scene, so I drew her ugly on purpose.
No.
You drew her ugly on purpose?
Yeah, of course, she's a scene. She's supposed to be ugly.
I don't think you did a good job at drawing her. You came out beautiful.
You only like her body. You don't like her face. That's why. Yeah.
She has a face.
That's why you can use like the bags, the plastic bag, no, the paper bags.
Yeah, the paper.
the paper box tier.
Oh yeah. We do it here like that. So the next perk is $150. By the way, it's free shipping, and it includes physical issue number 2, physical copy of the spin-off, a pinup, a drawing of yourself, your beautiful, sexy self, in the book, in an original sketch by Carla Fernandez.
Huh. Wait, a drawing of the backer?
Yes.
Exactly. The backer is a part of the book. We already sold 3 out of 5 spots. And the backers are not only being illustrated in several panels, but also they are called by name, so everybody knows it's there.
Yeah, you will see it too.
Oh, so they're actually like key characters in the storyline.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be super fun, especially for people from the CG community who receive the book, they read it, and they will have those little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Like, it's a character that if you don't know the person, like, you don't even realize. But when you know who that is, like, it's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. All right. The next tier is the Gray Sisters. It's $200, and it includes a commission, an original commission, a sketch, a pin-up, the physical copies of the Grim Reaper 2, and the Curse of the Medallion. If you've ever commissioned any kind of artwork, you know that this is more than a steal. All right. This is practically just us, I don't know, giving you our everything.
Yeah. Some commission drawings can easily start at 200.
Yeah. And so not only are you getting a personalized commission, but you're also getting our products, our books, and everything else, and the sketches, and the pinups. You will get a free pinup regardless. And then, of course, you have the Necromancer. It's $250. Again, free shipping. Free shipping for everything after $100. You're gonna get physical copy of second issue, physical copy of pinup, physical copy of issue 1. So that means that's a 3-pack. You know, the pack of the 3 books plus the original pinup, plus the free pinup, plus a commission, and plus the Grim Reaper T-shirt.
And a little sample of our blood.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Say what?
You will have some coronavirus in it.
Well, thank you.
My bad. All right. And the last perk is the $300 mystery box, where you don't know what you get, but it's cool.
Oh my gosh, that is like the most curious thing ever.
Absolutely.
What on earth could it possibly be?
You don't know,
and you pay a lot.
And you pay a lot, but
sounds great.
Well, I mean, man, it sounds like an amazing deal still, especially when you consider all the other tiers and how much you're packing into every one of them.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, it's going to be good. You know that off the top of it, off the bat. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, look, the whole thing is very affordable for national and international backers alike. This is made for you guys, for the fans. We did it thinking of you, and we hope you love it, and we look forward to see what you think of our books.
Yeah, we look forward to the reviews.
Yeah. Definitely going to have to do that. So I was curious, John, do you basically describe in vivid detail how each of the characters looks, and then Carla, you take what he relays to you and still do your own interpretation based on what he's saying?
Yeah, that's a very accurate kind of portrayal of how this interaction goes. The way I write the script, and maybe one day I should do a perk with the original script. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people wonder how that looks. I do it like this. I put page 1, panel 1, this happens. Panel 2, this happens. Panel 3, this happens. Because I used to write prose before.
All right.
I do put a lot of detail in the what I'm telling. Out of habit. I don't just put there's a white rabbit sitting in the corner. I put that it is a furry rabbit with shiny eyes. And I don't know, flickery nose. You know what I mean? Because I'm still thinking that I'm telling the reader. Well, in fact, she is the one that's showing the reader what I want to convey. But I've gotten better with time. I've gotten a lot more concise with time. I think a lot more brief, if you will, getting to the point of what I want her to draw. But also, it's because the thing is, she has a great imagination. And whether, as I put, okay, there's a horse that breathes fire, and for example, you're looking at the panel. I'm just thinking of the panel right now. There's a conversation between the Grim Reaper and the horse that breathes fire. But if you look, like this thing glows with this magical fire, a blazing fire, if you will, is embedded in it, and that was not in the script. So that's all her. You know what I mean? So there are times where, yes, I'm very, very specific on what I want, especially in key scenes. And there's other times when she just want to make shit look cool. You know what I mean? So she will do that.
Yeah, that's my job, but it's also my job to, I always try to get to a level in which I take the script, try to make it look as cool as possible, as long as it doesn't interfere with the story. Okay, that's like the sweet spot to compose the page. I don't think that artists should be putting their technique and showing off their skills in first place, because that would be an art book and not a comic book. Mm-hmm. Here, the main point is the story. The story has to be well told, right? So, for example, I'm like, oh, I feel like drawing fire and doing a lot of sparkles here. So people will just spend like a good minute staring at the image, but that's meant to be a quick moment. The flow of reading should be fast, because that's an action scene. So I cannot design the page in a way that I'm telling the reader to stay there contemplating the little details and the birds flying in the mountains. No. So there has to be unity there. We have to go to the same place, and we need to have the same priorities. So that's why I really think that egos have to be very well controlled, especially in this medium where the artist or the writer can become like, I don't know, famous or whatever. Not famous, but like you always have to remember what your job is, and not to let your ego be in the middle. So
right.
That's my rant.
Well, it's a very valid point. Yeah, I mean, you don't want that to overwhelm the book. And one of the biggest failures in Hollywood is lack of story. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, by all means, you got to push a good, compelling story that keeps you interested and makes you feel invested in these characters that are presented to you. You need to have you need to invest your time and energy in the lives of these characters. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it just feels so empty, and that's what so much of Hollywood is nowadays.
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, like she was saying, there is a lot of that pushing. This. Like a lot of movies nowadays, they look really cool. You know what I mean? They look nice. But it's an empty shell, and people see through it all the time. If the casual person that doesn't know about Star Wars just one day wanders into a movie theater and watches, I don't know, whatever the last movie of Star Wars was, which I thankfully missed. They will be like, okay, yeah, that looks nice, but whatever. You know what I mean? But if the same happened with the original movies, sure, they didn't look as cool, unless you watch the remastered versions, which still look kind of campy and stuff, and the special effects are kind of off, and you're like, oh, I don't like that, But the story gets you invested in it,
And that's my point. The art is only a means to tell the story.
And look, you look at some of the most famous comic books in history. I mean, you look at the Superman first comic book, and it looks hideous. It looks like I drew it with my foot. You know what I mean? But it's a great story, and it's probably I think it's the most expensive comic book in history. Right? I mean, it's the most expensive comic book in the world right now.
Right. Yeah. Very good points. Mm-hmm. So we got a great chance to get to know John better. I'd like to get to know Carla better now. I thoroughly love watching your live streams when you are, actually showing us the artwork in action. They're really fun to watch. And, you're conversing and telling us your thoughts behind your artistic motions. So I got a little bit of a glimpse as to what kind of software programs you use, and I wanted to just go over them briefly if I understand correctly. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But it looks like you start off, doing the rough artwork, and I guess the line artwork and the basic coloring using some program called, is it SAI?
Yeah, I do the coloring inside, but the sketching and the inking, I do it in Manga Studio.
Oh, all right. The sketching is actually done in Manga Studio.
Yes, I go back and forth in all these programs like all the time.
So you start off with a single piece of digital work, and then I guess once you're done using it in one program, then you save your work and then you import it into the other program.
Yeah.
And then you keep going back and forth as needed.
Exactly. I know that's not the ideal way to work, but I have my own way to work, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Like I never went to school, to art school. Of course, I went to school, but not to art school or, never learned like drawing classes or anything. So I graduated from YouTube University. I studied from YouTube tutorials, and that's how I learned. And and then of course it's a matter of practice, doing a bunch of horrible drawings, but then you slowly, very slowly start to get better. And I always like to experiment. I like to experiment like all the different software that we have, and each of them have their own strengths and also things I do not like. However, I was like, why do I have to choose? I can use them all. And I can use what I like about them the most if I use them all. So, yeah. So probably it won't be the fastest way to work, but I always achieve the result I really want. And if I get frustrated and I cannot do something in that program, then I switch to a different one. So, like, I never start my work knowing exactly what I'm going to do, and I believe that that's the only reason why that unexpectancy factor in my work is what makes it better. Because when I plan it so much or too much, it just looks boring, plain, and with no movement. So I just go wherever the drawing takes me. So, for example, I start coloring, and then I find a color that really looks really good with the background color. Okay, then I'm gonna do something with this color. But what can I do with this color? Okay, and then I'm gonna add this to the dress so I can use this more. And like it's everything is spontaneous. That's also my personality. So thank you for coming by to the channel. I really appreciate when you guys keep me company while I draw, because it's a bunch of hours. And it seems like I have been experimenting with different kinds of show, and it seems like people really enjoy watching the drawings come to life.
Yeah.
They really enjoy it. So I decided I'm going to start doing that more often. But the only problem is that StreamYard has like limited amount of hours for you per month. And of course that every time I draw live, I use like 2 or 3 hours. So unless I pay, but I don't like to pay.
Yeah, we're cheap.
I'm very cheap.
Oh, yeah. So with the free version of StreamYards, I guess you're limited to 4-hour streams at a time?
No, it's not for, well, I don't know. I never stream for 4 hours. I know that it's 20 hours per month.
Oh, it's a monthly thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was debating whether or not to just deal with it and pay the price, but I wanted to get some experience with some early StreamYard streams and see if I could justify the worth. And it seems like most of the cool features in the product are available in the premium version.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
As it usually ends up being. Yeah, that was one of my other questions. You kind of read my mind. So your background is not formal art training, you literally taught yourself through YouTube tutorial videos. And how young and or like how many? Well, I don't want to get overly personal, but I can say that when I first started drawing, I was probably around 8 years old. But then there's been a huge gap of time where I wasn't practicing. So now I'm faced with being out of practice, and I have to regain my skills. So you were talking about how you're very spontaneous. I'm kind of more. I don't want to say by the books or overly formal, but when you're drawing the human figure, you've probably seen some tutorials where you draw an oval for the head, you draw a line down the center of the head. Halfway down, you have a horizontal line for the eyes. Halfway down from there is the mouth. The spinal cord of the body from the side view is like a gentle S curve. And the human body is composed of like 6 heads high on average. And, starting out with basic shapes, the forearm is a cone, and the chest cavity is an oval, things like that. So I still kind of rely on those. I don't know if they're really handicaps, but guidelines, you might say.
Yeah, I mean, the basics are the basics. So I believe that's what you have to learn first. And yeah, maybe it's gonna be a little hard because maybe that's not your style. However, we always have to be aware of the proportions. We have to develop that ability of seeing like the distance from one thing to the other, to coordinate like what we see with what we draw, the distances in the paper. That's something we really have to dominate before starting to explore outside of those rules. We first have to internalize those rules so well that we can bend them in a way that they still work. And that's called a style, when you bend them and it's a characteristic only you do.
Right. So you actually, in studying those YouTube tutorials, you also, it sounds like, studied things as important as perspective and what's the other term? I'm trying to think back to my photography days, where you've got something in the foreground, something in the middle, and then something farther away.
Well, I never studied that formally.
Okay.
I actually just jumped in with the color. That's my favorite part, like I jump in with the coloring. And this is how I learn, okay? I started drawing whatever I wanted to do. And when I hit a moment in which like I really don't know how to do this, or I'm doing it like 1,000 times, it looks terrible. So I'm just gonna Google how can I draw this, or just search for photos and really pay attention to the lines and to the shape. And that way is how I learn. But like I have no patience. I am an Aries, so I don't have patience. So I always jump directly into the work, and whenever I hit a problem, that's when I search the thing I need. And yeah.
Awesome. Going back to the software you use, another program you use is Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
Do you actually make use of the other programs in the Creative Suite, or is it?
I use those 3: Manga Studio, Photoshop, and Paint Tool Side.
And what is the advantage to using a product like Manga Studio? I mean, is it, and obviously it's like catered or advertised to people interested in drawing the manga style. Is it, I mean, it's not like one of those things where you take a drawing you made of a realistic looking person and then you apply a filter and then it suddenly makes all their eyes giant, like in a manga drawing.
Well, like for me, Manga Studio is great because I have a wide range of pens, like the Japanese style pens. That's a Japanese program. So they have the Kabura, they have the G pen. Like all the mangakas use those pens. Those are not regular pens. So you actually like can emulate the job they do. And for example, in my tablet, I can use like the pen pressure. So the more I press the pen, the wider the line gets. So I can actually like enrich the drawing a lot with the different, uh, how do you say, width of lines.
Yeah.
Without having to drop the pen in a single stroke, I can vary, and that for me is the best thing. And also, like, it has so many features that it's typical for manga. You have markers, you have screen tones, you have like some automatic change that could help, but one has to be careful to include that organically in the drawing, because I'm not a big fan of those like pre-made drawings to put in your drawing, because they don't look very organic. You have to be very, very careful with how you do it, and only that maybe can work.
Right. Yeah. Like, you're kind of referring to like templates, I guess, or
Templates, yeah.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, so it sounds like you're really flexible, and you not only work in pens, but you also, it sounds like, work in paint brushes and markers and watercolors, possibly. Just anything that will help you achieve the finished product that you're looking for.
Anything goes.
That's really nice. That's a good style.
Yes, I have something in mind, and I don't care how, with what software, with what tool, or with what anything. I have to achieve that I have in my mind. Okay, so that's my compass, like what I envision. Okay, how can I make this a real thing? But I don't go to, like, I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I do exactly what I see in my head. It's weird.
Nice.
That's how it works.
And let's see here. Whoops. Excuse me. And do you also use like airbrush techniques? I thought I heard you say airbrush during your latest video.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I use the airbrush for lighting effects, especially to make these little gradients. I love gradients. But what I do is, for example, they always tell you in the tutorials, right? Like, you start, you ink, you draw, and then you color, and it's finished. But I don't do that. Like, I start sketching, then I ink, then I don't do base colors. I just go straight to the gradients, then I mix, then I go back to the inking stage, but ink with color on top of the coloring. Then I go back and add the effects. And then I go back to the inking, take out the effects from the part it doesn't have to be, and add some more inking on top. So it depends on the drawing. I don't have a rigid way of working, and that's crucial for me. It's crucial for me not having a rigid way of working, because for me, planned stuff ruins my creativity.
Gotcha. Yeah. And one of the things that I found interesting is, and this is something that I would have issues with if working digitally, is that while you draw, I don't notice any frequent saves, nor do I see, well, I mean, when you jumped over to Photoshop, I guess you started using layers. But, my concern, I don't have a lot of experience doing software artwork, but one of my concerns is, and from being in the computer industry for so many years, one of the rules is save often, because if you lose your work, then you have to start over from scratch. And it looks like you've got the skills to where you don't have to save frequently. You just save only when you're about to switch to the next program.
Don't be like me. Do it more often. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. I hear it's pretty layers save you a lot of time. and it looks like you make good use of them too.
Yeah, I try to work as fast as I can. So I just try to do everything in the same layer. You are normally advised to do the background in one layer, the skins in another layer, the hair in another layer. That never happens. I do everything in the same layer. It's easier to mess up, but I have so much practice doing that I just jump straight to the same layer. And yeah, then if I have to cover it with some ink in other software, I just export it, cover it, and then just like.
Very cool.
Mhm.
In addition to John's superb storytelling, where do you draw inspiration for your art?
Well, I always been reading manga. Rumiko Takahashi, she's my main influence. She's the author of Ranma, Inuyasha, those 90 animes. My first manga love was reading Ranma. I no, that was the best manga ever. Then I have some influence from Hiro Mashima, the creator of Fairy Tail. Um, but however, in this comic in particular, I was trying to go for more like a westernish style, which I didn't quite get. But it's like a blend with manga, Disney. I don't know what came out there. It's a salad, but that's not my style. My style is like, for example, today I was streaming the cover of Sandstorm from Red Gate's book, and that's my style. That's manga style, and that's what I do. Yeah, here as you can see, it's not the same, like it's so like Japanese looking art.
Yeah, I was looking at the gentleman holding the body, the lifeless body, and it almost kind of resembled French. Something I might have you might see in like the Tintin or Asterix.
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, particularly with the eyes, and I found that interesting. It's quite a unique style. I like it a lot.
Mm.
Um,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I try to vary as much as I can to offer variety to everybody who reads. For example, issue 2 of the Green Reaper is this blended style, but the spin-off, that's anime style, that's all manga. So you will find different styles from the same artist. Also, I changed the whole color scheme from scene to scene. I would never use the same palette for the whole comic. That would be boring as hell. So, for example, inside the palace, they have a color palette. Then outside, another color palette. In the past, another. So you never get bored of visually. It's a way that helps you with to be like immersed in the reading experience. Like you pay more attention. This is subconscious, but you actually like get more into the scene when it's different, right? Because you just like feel you enter to a different place in which you were, right? I forgot what I was going to say.
That happens a lot.
That happens a lot. You watch my stream. You're a regular in my channel, so you know I always forget what they say.
yeah, I can be the same way though, so I can relate. So, when you choose colors and color palettes and backgrounds, are you trying to use the color to convey the mood, the feelings, the emotions?
Exactly, yes. For example, here, this is in Russia, outside, and I'm using all the kinds of cold colors in the cold scheme, because of course it's cold, it's low temperature, this in Russia. But let me give you some better examples. Here. Okay, look, as you can see here, this is the palace, this is like more warm. You see, and here, for example, Rasputin, his magic is, or everything that has to do with Rasputin is green and pops out. I also pay a lot of attention in that, like not going crazy with too many colors, so I can make sure that this stands out, right? This is all like very dark navy blue, and like this is all like brown, golden, everything more or less similar. So this really pops up. And I think that's key. That's key because you shouldn't like go crazy with your colors because you're just gonna um, it's gonna be visually overwhelming. Here, for example, this is a tavern. Rasputin and the Green Reaper are having some vodka, and the lights are dim. As you can see, the colors are not very like bright, and that gives you that kind of atmosphere, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and it's completely different than this one. This is super bright.
Right.
The colors are very flashy, and for example, everything that happens in the underworld has these colors. Like something is burning next to you. I use that in this scene, for example. This scene is in the underworld. Then we have Azrael that comes in one night, just in I don't know where they are, in the middle of the forest, but as you can see, this is all in blues and greens. So you never get bored of the colors. Inside their house, everything is this dark green color. All the scenes with her are this other color. Like, as you can see, like this isn't in hell, and because of these colors. But then back to the house, same colors. So that's a way to visually help the reader to understand where they are. They don't have to pay that much attention. They just get it right away. And another thing I did to help visually the reader is to give just the Green Reaper a black dialogue balloon. So every time that he talks, it's a dark one, so we always know when he is talking, right? For example, here we have this page here. As you can see, like everybody else's is white and normal, but his are dark. And you suddenly imagine if all of these were white, it would be like more like confusing, and you will have to actually put more attention. It's less inviting to read. So that's why I did this.
So you're also responsible for all the lettering and the speech bubbles and the placement of the speech bubbles?
Yes. Yeah. I do pretty much all the visuals.
And then John, you do all the in your screenplays, you literally write out every single thing every character says?
Yes, of course.
Huh, wow. I think that would be an awesome idea to include a screenplay in one of your perks on a future campaign. That would be freaking amazing, actually.
Yeah. I don't see why not. It would be cool. I've seen actually done in comics nowadays. They sometimes include pieces of or the whole script in the back of the comic. I thought that was a wonderful idea, especially because you kind of get a glimpse of what the artist looked at before giving his own input into the story.
Definitely. Also, you are reading and watching, not watching, but seeing my interpretation of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you can read it from his and imagine something different.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes things so interesting, because you've got different perspectives, different backgrounds, and it's like when you compare a book, like let's say the Lord of the Rings from J.R.R. Tolkien, and you compare that to the movies that were directed by, I think, Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
And when you read the books, you've got one interpretation of how things look based on the written word, the descriptions, and then you compare that against how they were interpreted into a film medium, and they'll share some similarities at its core, but there will also be some liberties taken in the visual medium because they're trying to push things along at a certain pace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when you do screenplaying, you like I said, you want to be specific enough to where the artist gets what you mean, and but also at the same time succinct enough to where you don't overwhelm the artist. You know what I mean? With too much detail that is kind of pointless. So that's kind of why people who write prose tend to make a big mistake at when they do that switch. For example, you look at the screenplay for I think it was Fantastic Beasts, is that the name of that movie? Magical Beast,
Yes.
the Harry Potter one, right?
Yeah, the prequels, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah. So those prequels were actually, the screenplay were written by the same author of the books, right? This lady,
Yeah, J.K. Rowling.
Rowling, that's the right. And you see the big difference, right, in what um, time constraint does to writing, right? Because you do get a lot of really awkward moments where you don't really know how that fits in the story at all.
Yeah, true.
And what the hell am I watching? Why is this here? They could have definitely done without this. But they included that in the screenplay because she's used to writing books. And in books, you got all this random stuff that really do nothing for the plot. You know what I mean? They really don't. And they're just part of book reading. And that's why books are so bulky. You know what I mean? For the most part, of course.
Yeah, they compensate that they don't have illustrations, so they try to tell you how it looks.
Yeah. But with visual storytelling, I think you have to be much more brief, if you will, in what you're showing and how you're telling the story, because you don't want it to be too lengthy, you know, and you want to get rid of the details that don't really add up anything to the story. So yeah, the screenplay writing, script writing in general is much different than writing a book. You know, so you have to be on point. You know, you have to be to the point. You have to tell what you mean, and don't add anything that doesn't really have any value for the story.
So when you're, can you go to a little detail, John, about your background and your skills in screenplay? Do you actually go to school to study screenplay writing?
No, not at all. Just like her, I'm very self-taught. You know, I just remember when I was little, I wrote. I remember that my mom was very interested in teaching me how to read and write before I went to school, right? So before I started school, so I'm at, I don't know, age 5 maybe, I don't know, somewhere around that time before school starts and they actually start teaching you these things. She wanted me to learn how to read, right? And so she did. She taught me these things. And the way she would have me do is she noticed that I had a lot of imagination, mostly because where we live, we grew up kind of very extremely poor. We didn't have electricity or anything like that, so we didn't have a TV, none of that. So what she used to do was she just had me read a lot and we would play a lot, right? And at the time, all she could afford was a camera, right? Like a to record. Because she noticed that I was coming up with these games in my mind and I kind of wanted to be a movie director or whatever. And so she had me just let my imagination run wild with the camera and just come up with these crazy stories. She will participate. She will have my friends participating. And you know what I mean? And so I just, when I felt confident enough to start writing, I wrote stories. And that's what she had me do before school started, right? Once school started, so by the time I started going to actual elementary school, I was way ahead of everyone else in the reading and writing department. And I kind of liked writing. So what I started doing, I started writing this comic book, right? And selling it to my grandparents and selling it to my friends for a very high price, I remember at the time. My mom still says that she has one of those. Maybe I will bring it to a live stream one of these days.
That would be so
I have
awesome.
to ask her. And that was it. I hit puberty and I lost completely all interest in writing, in reading, in all of that. I didn't have it. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was focused on sports, girls, and you know, and just being cool. Yeah. And so something happened. So I went to the military, and I had a bad accident, and unfortunately, I was put in a wheelchair, right?
Oh man.
For some really long time, and it really like super depressed me because they kept me inside the barracks. They wouldn't allow me to go outside, so I wasn't even getting any sunlight. Like I was as white as she is right now. You know what I mean? I didn't see the sun for months.
I never see the sun. I only receive the sun from my tablet.
Oh dear.
They're vitamin D.
What
So
they do is you precisely position various mirrors so that the sunlight that comes through the window hits the mirrors and bounces across different mirrors until it hits you.
yeah, that's her way of standing. But but anyways, I was there and I was super depressed, and I just remember my friends, my battle buddies, bringing me a lot of comic books, and I started getting into it again. You know, I started devouring all of them. They brought me The Walking Dead, they brought me The Sandman, they brought me Civil War, they brought me all these comics, and I devoured them because I had nothing else to do in the time. You know, I'm here stuck in this kind of legal limbo where I can't really be in the service, but I can't leave either, and I'm in a wheelchair, locked up. You know what I mean? So they just kept bringing me books, and I kept reading them and reading them, and I developed, I rediscovered this passion that I had when I was a kid, right? So once I left the service, little while after, I started to write, you know, and I started. I was teaching at the time, and at the school where I was teaching, I started a newspaper, so where I would encourage kids to write and all of that, and I started writing for like websites like The Pastic and things like that, right? Wattpad, all that stuff, just sharing stories and all that, and like I said, it was mostly just prose and things like that. But then, like I still had in my mind that I wanted to make a comic book, but I'm just not that good a drawer, right? And some of the first few ideas I had was included the space monkey, and then I met her, and the rest is history.
Oh, very cool. Oh, I wanted to ask Carla real quick. You mentioned that you prefer having people to keep you company on your drawing streams. When you're drawing on your own, when you're not streaming, basically, do you ever turn on music, or do you have movies on as background noise?
Okay, I have a problem with the movies because I want to watch the movie, and that distracts me because I don't want to look at the drawing anymore. I want to watch the movie because I'm very curious. I just can't stand not seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
So that's actually the way I can never sleep when I overhear the television because I'm too curious.
Yeah.
So I watch movies. I listen to music the first 10 minutes, and you know I just can't anymore because I obsess with just one song or two or three, and I listen to them all the time, and then I just, you know, I have to sit for more than 10 hours every day. So how do I do it? And then I started talking with some other artists from CG, and I see how they survive, and it's just their lifestyle. And there's some groups in Discord, which is, I don't know, a server in which everybody like logs in, and you just click and you can talk to everybody at the same time, and everybody's working. It's like a big studio. So you draw, they put music, it's a party, okay? They all talk, we gossip, we put music, we watch anime. Yeah, it's super fun. That's Sim. Sim is the owner of that Discord. I use the Discord sometimes, and then other times I just hear to other live streams from other people. So I'm aware of what's going on with pretty much a lot of live streams from other people, but I never in the chat like, hey, how are you? Because of course I'm joined. So
yeah.
I hear, but I don't participate. So I'm like the creep there, like spying on people. And apart from that, I just do my own live streams and talk to the people in the chat, which is my favorite thing now. Like I'm very new at that, but I'm enjoying it too much. It's very addictive. I'm live all the time.
Yeah, you're doing a great job at it too. You seem to have a nice balance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's just hope that the channel keeps growing and keep working. And yeah, like seeing you guys, like the backers and all of our supporters being there, like just hanging out with us, that's so, I don't know, it makes me feel so happy, and it's so like heartwarming because they want to be a part of it. They want to participate, and I love seeing them there and talking. I don't know. It's a beautiful thing because you could never imagine this would happen with these big companies in which you bought the comics before. You would never hang out with the artists that you read, and now this is possible. We're all connected.
Yeah.
You guys help me. You guys entertain me, and I entertain you. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a mutual exchange. It's kind of a fascinating creation, or anomaly maybe.
Yeah.
And not to oversimplify it, it almost has kind of a family vibe to it.
Definitely. Yes.
It's like everyone's in it for one thing, to make successful comics that entertain people.
Definitely. And it's amazing to have friends that are also creators. And like today I had a bunch of friends on, and like we were talking about this. Like I feel like the little sister which is spoiled by her bigger brothers.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, like that, just like family. So it's amazing. And they even like got into the stream and told me, hey, why don't you try this brush with this? And because they are also artists and they know how to do it. They do the same thing. So it can't get any better than that.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. John, how do you stay focused when it comes to story writing? I mean, do you have like some kinds of I don't know, tips, or I mean, how do you get?
I would have one advice for anybody who's a writer, and wants to write consistent stories who are good throughout, from beginning to end. And that is, if you get tired, stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Because once you get tired and it doesn't feel anymore like you're doing something out of passion and out of love, and you're just doing it because it's the grind, because it's what you got to do, because you have to finish what you start, the ending is gonna suck. So what I recommend to anybody who writes and who wants to be consistent and want to have a good beginning, a good middle, and a good end, for a story, it's when you get tired and you stop until you feel like you really want to write again. That's the main way to stay focused, and really start writing when you really feel like it's something you want to do at the moment. At least that's, in my experience, what's helped me the most. There's times when I can push a whole story in one night, right? And it's like I'm possessed, and I just start typing away. You know what I mean? And I don't stop until I'm done, because I'm into it. I'm listening to the music I want. Sometimes it's so crazy that I'm listening to the song and I write the song in a scene of because music, it can be a part of a book too. You can write the lyrics of a song, have a character sing that song, have a character be listening to that song while he has headphones, something like that, right? And it immerses you into the story, because a lot of times you become part of the story that you're writing. But yeah, without a doubt, to stay focused is once that inspiration runs out, my biggest advice is just don't push through it. Even if you feel like you have a deadline, it's better off to start up the next day or whenever you feel inspired again, because if you keep writing and you are not really enjoying it, then it defeats the purpose, because you're not really showing. You're not really sharing your best self with the book and with the readers.
That's why we're happy we don't have editors or bosses.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned there are some cases in which you can knock out a whole story in one go. When you say a story, are you talking like you could knock out a whole Grim Reaper book in one go, or would it be like one of several stories within that book, if that makes sense?
No, when I mean a story, I mean like I don't know, 45 pages maybe 80 pages type of the graphic novel, things like that, right? Yeah, for sure. Not a whole book, not a whole like book written in prose for sure. That would be impossible, especially when the word count is thousands of words and the pages are hundreds of pages. It's that's too much for sure. But a short, nice story like the Grim Reaper, yes, I could definitely do it in one night. I've done it in one night, but that's only because I felt like that inspiration was there and the desire was there and the passion was there. Had be otherwise, I would have either have not done it or have waited until those things, those elements were there to start.
Yeah, it was interesting when you were talking about how you suggest, and it's very good advice that you just write until, I mean, before and stop before you get really tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you risk making the rest of the story all crappy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It made me flash back to how there's I guess a general feeling among movie fans
Mm-hmm.
that J.J. Abrams is the type of person or director who is good at starting something or rebooting a particular franchise and getting into some action, but then he doesn't know how to end things. And I wonder if that's kind of what he's dealing with, where he gets to a certain point in his writing of a script, and then he runs out of ideas or he pushes too hard, and then the ending craps out on him.
Yeah, endings are tricky. Endings can be very tricky for the reason that a lot of this happens to writers, to a lot of writers actually, is this thing that you start writing something and you get a better idea, and then that's something that you were so into it doesn't look as appealing anymore as the new thing that now your mind is focusing on. That happens to a lot of people. I mean, that happens to everyone at some point. You know what I mean? You think you have this great idea, but then while you're in the middle of executing it, you get this other better idea. The problem is that when you're in projects that last years, that can be very tricky. You know what I mean? Because you're in the middle of a project and you're already feeling like, oh my goodness, this. You know what I mean? This again. When can I start the one thing I actually want to do? You know what I mean? That happens a lot, especially when you think about the fact that the production of these movies lasts for years and they go on for years, and then there's reshoots, and then they fix the scripts and things like that, right? Of course, I wouldn't put all the blame on the shoulders of a director, but that's kind of how life is, right? The person who's in charge is going to have to take the heat, right? They will take the glory if their project succeeds. So yeah, my big advice is never embark in a project that you're not 100% sure that you're invested in it. Especially if it's a project that's going to last a long time. Like you look at a lot of these Comicsgate campaigns, and what the maximum is 60 days, and then they go in demand. Don't do a project that you're not 100% confident about, especially if you feel like you might get a better idea later, because those are going to be some long 60 days, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, prior to Grim Reaper 2, you released Grim Reaper 1. Prior to Grim Reaper 1, did you have other projects that you launched? As far as I know, these are your two IndieGoGo campaigns.
Oh yeah, absolutely. These are our first campaigns. I only have and only one this one artist right here. So of course I don't want to work her to death. But yes, we do have lots of projects lined up. So the best we could come up with was a schedule, a calendar, to know exactly when we're going to launch the projects, when we're going to be finishing one, fulfilling the other, things like that, right?
We don't plan resting in the whole year.
Yeah. This year
one after the other.
We're going to push through. But then again, these projects come from a place of a lot of passion. You know what I mean? If we weren't sure that we enjoy what we do, we wouldn't do it. There's nothing worse than doing something you don't enjoy. And so I'm 100% confident in the things that we're working on is the best we have. You know what I mean? I have tons of projects, and some of them are okay, some of them are great, but not really that commercial. Some of them are not that good. But the ones that we're putting out in these campaigns are the best that we could come up with.
It's a pretty awesome campaign for sure, and I'm glad that you. I'm glad that you're giving people who missed the first campaign a chance to get the first part of the story so they can catch up.
Yeah, and look, the in-demand store is gonna stay open for a long while. So you got time to come back and back it again, get the first, get the second, get the spin-off, get the shirt, get the mystery box. There's time, all right? There's gonna be plenty of time for you to come and back this and support this project. So yeah, there's it's there, guys. We just started the in-demand. Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out that your first campaign, the Grim Reaper, that pulled in $1,795 at 59 backers, and then let's see here. Yep, and then so $1,795 for 59 backers. And you outdid yourselves with Grim Reaper 2. You're at $3,038 for 82 backers. So you're making leaps and bounds in the right direction, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We expected this kind of growth because when we started, our social media presence was kind of small. And we know that for a lot of these projects, because Comicsgate is a very successful industry, let me tell you. You got people who are pulling some high numbers, and I feel super proud of them and very happy for them as well. Some of them are good friends, and one thing that they told us, and the one thing that we'll tell everybody who's thinking about launching a project, is build up your audience for sure. There's nothing like it. You can have the best book out there, but if nobody knows about it, and even if they know about it but they don't know you, sell yourself first without a doubt, then your product, and of course don't have people missing out on your wonderful talents. But yeah, we've been building the audience slowly but surely. We didn't want to take up 5 years building an audience before launching something, of course, especially because I feel like I have blue balls here, man, with all these projects, and they don't come out. You know what I mean? So I just want to put them out there. But we are building that audience for sure, and getting people's eyes on them, and hopefully more people will come, and more people will see them, and more people will support it, and we'll keep that exponential growth, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. That's freaking impressive. So how did you even manage to pull off a successful IndieGoGo campaign on your first go? Did you basically seek out the advice of a lot of other YouTube creators?
No. Well, I'll probably say something controversial. My wife will look at me funny, but that's okay. We reached out to a lot of the successful people, but